This is the Real Footy Podcast. Hello and welcome to day 5 of the AFL trade period. We're about halfway there now. My name's Andrew Wu and joining me today is Marc McGowan. How are you, Marc?
Wuey, we are getting closer to D-Day, but there's a few more deals again, so they're keeping us at least occupied throughout this period.
Clubs are racing the clock, and so are you. You've got to get to a basketball tryout tonight, don't you?
I do. Well, not for me, but for my 9-year-old son. He's doing well, but we'll see. Fingers crossed for him.
We'll be succinct. Okay, to the action today we've had so far. Collingwood's Brody Mychek and pick 71 go to Melbourne for pick 61 and a third-round pick in 2026. West Coast Campbell Chesser, a former first-round pick, ends up at Carlton for pick 41. We had a 3-club trade, so not quite a mega trade. Bennett Ainsworth from the Gold Coast heads to Carlton. The Suns get Port Adelaide's pick 29. Carlton get Port's pick 67. And Port Adelaide get Corey Durden and a round 2 pick in 2026 from the Blues. Durden heading home to South Australia.
All about the Suns. I mean, moving on from Ainsworth, it wasn't so much about getting a pick 29. That was very much about clearing some salary cap space ahead of hopefully landing Christian Petracca in the days ahead.
Yeah, and the Blues effectively upgrade from Corey Durden, the player who's probably never really quite hit the heights that Carlton had hoped for Ben Ainsworth, who's a little bit older but a more accomplished footballer. And what the Suns get money off their books, and Port effectively get Corey Durden for pick 67 in a draft that they don't really rate, do they? So
look, no, Port Adelaide definitely have made it quite clear they're not fans of this draft. There aren't many that are huge fans of this draft, but Port Adelaide seem to be very strong on that. But I actually really like what the Blues have done there. Like, they haven't had to give up much. They've punted on upside. As you said, Ainsworth's well and truly into his career, but he's a former,
26,
top 5
years
pick.
Old, yeah.
And Campbell Chesser, a first-round pick in 2021. He, hasn't reached any great heights in his career out west, but finished the season really strong. Last month, averaged about 17 touches after ankle surgery at the start of the year. Worth a punt. They've given up pick 41. I mean, that's basically in the draft, that's a punt. So getting Chesser's a good one, I think.
And he's had a few injuries as well, Chesser, so there's a lot of upside there for the Blues, and he's also a player who addresses one of their needs in terms of speed and carrying the ball. So it's probably a worthwhile risk for the Blues. Dare I say, is it a money ball type? In other news today, this from Jake Nile, the Essendon board will have the final say on what happens with Zach Merritt and the trade there. So that smells to me like a 7:25 Wednesday night thing, where you get board members scrambling to sign off on it. And
It's a fascinating trade period this year. It really is. I think not only have we had deals done every single day, but we've got the absolute top liners, like the Merritts, the Olivers, the Curnows.
Well, they're all Australians,
the
aren't
Traccas.
they?
These are big names, and they're all available, all up for grabs. Well, maybe I shouldn't say available yet, but they're certainly up for grabs. And then you've got some good depth as well. I think we've had, 13 trades already, with many more to come over these next few days.
Yeah, and also Clayton Oliver has nominated Greater Western Sydney to be his club, which we the writing was on the wall for that for the last 48 hours or so, hasn't it?
Well, it sort of came through last night, didn't it? Late last night, and it had been trending that way. Collingwood made it quite clear they'd had trouble getting in touch with him in Sydney, and we all saw those pictures on the boat last Friday, and he looked like he was having a jolly good time with Adam Kingsley right next to him. So, it's going to be interesting to see where Oliver goes next year. I'm fascinated. He's not going to be going in there as a top liner, as far as he won't be the top dog. He'll be sitting behind Finn Callaghan and Tom Green, and I think he could be a really good addition.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, if Oliver could, when he finished 8th in Melbourne's best and fairest this year, I don't think...
Something like that, 7th or 8th, yeah, certainly wasn't high.
So I think the days of expecting Oliver to be a 30 possession plus player might be gone, but if he can get 20...
He still averaged 25 this year.
Yeah,
I don't think it's beyond him to get back. I mean, who knows?
If he gets 25 in that midfield, which is a bit more dynamic than Melbourne's, and if Melbourne are paying a significant chunk of his wage, then you're not looking at Clayton Oliver as a $1 million plus player. You're looking at him at maybe a 700-800, and he could pay their way. And the Giants need him next year, given Josh Kelly's going to miss a significant chunk of the season, and Darcy Jones out for the year. So, a few spots there for the Giants to fill. Okay, so we're at the halfway point. 13 trades so far. That's as of about 4:15 on Friday afternoon. How do you think this period's tracking so far? I mean, Geelong, we saw last night offering 3 first-round picks for Charlie Curnow.
Hasn't that created a bit of a stir? I think I immediately thought back to, I think everyone else, I don't know if everyone else did, but I certainly did, the Adelaide's offer to North Melbourne the year Jason Horne-Francis was going to be the number 1 pick, and they offered 3 first-round picks, and I think they were going to get a second-rounder back or something, which was effectively was almost just a slide. But it sounds so big, doesn't it? 3 first-round picks. But as we all know, and as we've been reminded by some fans from other clubs and from Carlton fans themselves, 3 first-round picks aren't always the same as 3 first-round picks. Like, you can have top 10 picks, you can have a first-round pick that's 27. There's a very big difference.
Is it the 28 draft or 27 draft for Tasmania, where I think they have 7 first-round picks?
Very compromised.
So anything, if you finish in the top 4, that's going to slide into the 20s. And I guess all this, as we're judging Geelong's first-round picks, is the anticipation that they're always going to finish in the top 4. But if they drop off, then suddenly, I mean, 3 first-round picks for Curnow in hindsight in a few years' time might not be.
Let's not forget, they missed the finals the year after winning the premiership. Their dad's army team a year later didn't get the job done. We know they've refreshed a bit since then, but that just proves you can never assume anything. But I think, in all honesty,
you'd be silly
It was a nice little offer, but it probably wasn't ever going to get the job.
The odds are against you if you're Carlton, thinking that Geelong are going to slide. But I think it's flushed out a little bit more action behind the scenes with Charlie Curnow in terms of the Swans. I mean, they're going to get busier now in terms of trying to table an offer to Carlton.
What can they do, though? That's the thing. I mean, we've certainly talked about some possibilities that could get done, that could help it happen, but I think the Swans have also suggested multiple draft picks to Carlton. They've been told in no uncertain terms, you are not even close, try again. And I mean, we heard Chris Davies again on Trade Radio, and we heard from him on Monday when he faced all us journos, and he's continued the same party line of, we don't want to give up Charlie Curnow. And I think we all know that they probably will if the offer's good enough, but so far nothing's been close.
Yeah, I wonder whether it's just as simple as Carlton waiting for Sydney to keep turning over the names until they get higher and higher up their list and get to one of their 4 untouchables.
Well, they've made it super clear. It's not going to be Nick Blakey. It won't be Chad Warner, not Errol Goulden, not Isaac Heaney. So who gets it done then? Because as we've talked about today, and we'll certainly be reporting it on the website, James Rowbottom wants to stay at Sydney, even though he's been raised as a player who might be on the way out. He very much wants to stay, and it's certainly not coming from him, all the noise. So who would be the player that might say, I'm willing to do it? Is it Will Hayward? I don't know.
Well, if I was running list management at Carlton, I wouldn't be settling for anything less than one of the top 4 players. You want a player. Charlie Curnow will go to Sydney and transform that side. He gives them something they don't have now. So in return, I think Carlton would quite reasonably expect to have someone that would transform.
All right. Well, let's say you are Nick Austin. Will? you are Nick Austin for the next couple of minutes. Let's say
the damage that I could do to Carlton.
Let's say, wow, you love your Blues, so you're going to look after them. But let's say there has to be picks involved, but what does it look like? What does a deal look like if you are going to chuck a Sydney Swans player in? But let's assume that you're not going to get one of those top guys. Who would you settle for if it's a different player that's outside that top 4 and it's not Rowbottom? And then what picks are you using?
Well, in terms of a player, well, in terms of picks, I think what Carlton need to do for next year is that they need to position themselves to be able to get Cody Walker under the new father-son or draft rules that nobody's really got a clear idea yet.
Sounds like using no more than 2 picks, though.
Yeah, so they would need 2 first-round picks at the very least, and they'd probably want one of those picks to be quite high up, given that you'd think Cody Walker would be a top 3 sort of selection now.
He's either number 1 or 2 right now.
Yeah, so, I mean, without knowing the draft points, without having it in front of me, I'm thinking you'd probably need something like 2 in the top 10 to get a top 3 pick. So you'd want something that allows you to do that from a pick perspective. And also, I wouldn't be settling for any less than one of their 4 untouchables.
So you're not budging on that?
Well, no.
Otherwise you're keeping him.
Unless there's something that is irreconcilable in terms of Charlie Curnow and Michael Voss's relationship or Curnow's relationship with any other players. You just haven't come back, sit in the goal square next to Harry Mackay next year. There's only 4 Coleman medalists still playing in the AFL right now.
How many two-time?
Well, he and Jeremy Cameron probably.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that gives you an idea of the scarcity of his type of player.
Yep.
And all Australian midfielders, I mean, there's almost 3 or 4 different ones come up every 2 or 3 years. So there's quite a few of them going around. So I think from a Carlton point of view, you'd hold until you get an irresistible offer. Otherwise, he just comes back and November 1 or whenever they start pre-season training now. And
on his bike? He rolls in on his bike to training.
Extraordinary, wasn't it? Well, next one, I mean, we're going back, I suppose, a little bit, 24 hours. Leek Aleer and the sensational development of St Kilda reneging on a deal for him, having been interested in him since the start of last year. You wrote very strongly about it, and there's now some talk that another club might be interested.
Yeah, tentatively. North Melbourne certainly haven't ruled it out. And I think going into the trade period, we thought that was an area that North Melbourne needed to upgrade in. It was funny, though, we heard on Monday that Brady Rawlings was just going to back in the guys he had. But at that stage, he just thought Leek Aleer wasn't even an option. Everyone thought he was going to the Saints. He'd requested a trade. He had a 4-year offer in front of him worth north of $700,000 per year. Everything just seemed like it was going to happen. The negotiations had begun with the Giants. It was going along well enough. Then suddenly, on Thursday, we're out. And I just think incredibly poor form from St Kilda.
Why is it poor form?
Well, I just think we haven't seen something like this happen. But if we take a step back, it's generally thought that if a player goes to the step of requesting a trade, you have an obligation. Because at that point, that player has gone out of their comfort zone to say, I want to be there. Because if it backfires, they have to go back with their tail between their legs, effectively, back to their club and go, oh, can you have me back? Or whether there's not another suitor, really, at this stage. North Melbourne are tentatively saying we might look at him, but they haven't made any huge commitment. They're just saying we'll talk about it, and we are talking about it as a club now that he's available. But I just think for St Kilda to go down this path after all these... They've wooed him since last year, and they've dropped this kid in it. He was looking for houses.
Yeah, and it's hard for other clubs to come in at the 11th hour.
Of course it is.
Because they haven't factored
They've left
this
him high
in,
and dry.
Yeah, other clubs haven't factored in salary cap space, list planning. Where do you think he ends up?
Well, there's a problem with going back to the Giants because they don't really have any list spots. To make it happen, they're likely going to have to delist contracted players and hope they get back to them in the rookie draft. That's the scenario they're in. That's how tight they are. Because, again, they did not expect Aleer to be available. So there's certainly complications here. I mean, he's in Barcelona right now. And North Melbourne's Brady Rawlings, the list boss there, he said, look, ideally, you'd like to run a medical on him if you're going to commit to a player like that. And he's in Barcelona. So he's probably going to have to hightail it back here at some point over the next 5 or 6 days. And if it even gets to that stage, he might be heading back to the Giants.
It does create this... kind of weird scenario where Jason McCartney was on the radio saying, oh, geez, he's shattered and sort of feels bad for him, yet he's feeling bad for him that he's got to stay at his club. It's kind of...
They'd welcome him back, though.
Yeah.
They've said that on
popular,
the record.
Yeah. He loves the club.
Well, he said that he was in tears at his exit meeting, saying that he was, when he requested a trade. I mean, that just shows he loved the club and he didn't want to go, really. It's just the money was that good.
Yeah. Okay, so we get to the weekend, the weekend of trade period. Generally, nothing much happens in terms of paperwork getting lodged, but there'll be a few conversations that take place over the weekend.
I remember in previous years, Tyler Brockman's move from Hawthorn to West Coast went through on a Saturday. So let's not rule anything out, but I mean, it is generally accepted that it's almost the rest period. It's sort of the lunch break, if you want to use cricket terms.
But they're talking behind
They'll certainly be talking.
The scenes,
the negotiations, the phone calls, the coffee catch-ups, agents will be working the phones. There'll certainly be some activity. I think the one to watch right now is Jai Simpkin. Obviously, he has... Jake Nile, our own Jake Nile, reported a little while back, a few weeks back, that he was unhappy with his role.
And you reported yesterday, in today's paper, that...
I don't think it made the paper, but we got up late last night online.
Same thing, Print first, digital first.
Well, we got last night. The Collingwood is at least expressing some interest in Jai after he was showing. He was a little bit upset with the fact that he was playing on the wing now instead of his former role on the inside. But now they're looking at your Wardlaws, your Davies Uniacks, and your Sheasels for those roles. It's going
to be hard for Collingwood though, in terms of the North will want a first round pick. Collingwood don't have.
Well, they're saying they don't want to trade him at the moment. He's their captain.
Yeah.
He's under contract for I think 4 more years.
But is that
Collingwood
we
would
will
have
not
to
trade
stump up
you?
something strong.
Is that we will not trade you under any circumstance, or will give us an offer? And
You don't rule anything out in trade period, Wuey. There's always a deal to be done.
Yeah, and maybe the other thing over this weekend, there'll be quite a few of the people involved out at Caulfield races. So maybe if you're out the track on Saturday afternoon,
send us some tips, not just for horses, but some trade tips as well.
Tell us who you're seeing and who's talking to who. Might make for a bit of
might get
interesting
a
gossip.
Bailey Humphrey-like photo.
Okay, now to the readers' questions. This is from Andrew, not me, but another Andrew. How do you rate Richmond's Tyler Young as a draft pick? There's been lots of talk, the Tigers and the Eagles needing to do a deal without any mention of the sort of picks that would be required. What do you think?
I've got a little bit of an idea on this one. There's certainly the clubs are talking. The Eagles have got 2 picks in the 30s. There's one at 34, one at 38. Richmond would take that 34. But I think at this point, West Coast is sort of not quite happy to give up a 34. I think they've got some picks in the 50s as well, but 34, 38, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But those have certainly been around those discussions, around those picks in the 30s. And I know what Richmond would take, but if you're West Coast, you're probably thinking, let's see if we can get this guy in the door pretty late. But he finished the year really well. He was in demand. There are a few clubs that were interested in him, and I think on the rating system, from the time he broke into the team sort of late in the season, he was the 12th ranked key defender in the comp. So I think it's interesting.
Maybe they want to hold on to it.
I don't think that's going to happen. He's going, but we'll see what it ends up being.
Yeah. Okay. Well, our next question, well, having a look at it, it's quite lengthy, but the gist of it is first round picks in Geelong aren't what they seem to be, because as we know, Geelong's picks, what they got at the moment, I think it'd be about 18 or so this year.
Yeah, which will get pushed back further.
Yeah, I think you'd be thinking Geelong's 3 first round picks this year and the next 2 will probably be high teens, low 20s. And Jeremy is saying that why do journalists during trade week continue to run with a misleading concept of a first round pick? Because it makes it look like they're all the same. And Sam adds that he must be an anti-Geelong supporter. This Geelong love is killing me. The offer of 3 first-round picks is not what it seems. There's this constant noise about Zach Merritt being worth 2 first-round picks plus a player. But in what world are people taking Merritt ahead of Curnow? How can Curnow be worth materially less than Merritt?
There's an exclamation mark in there too. He's serious. He's fired up, Sam.
Sam might be a Carlton supporter.
Might be Hawthorn though, to be honest.
Yeah, well, could be as well. No, but he's right. I mean, I don't think Curnow can be worth less than Zach Merritt. But what's Zach Merritt worth? Are you doing a deal if you're Essendon?
I've been strong on this from the start. I understand that he wants out. I understand that it's a shock when your captain meets with an opposition coach only days after meeting with Brad Scott, his own coach. But how many top liners do Essendon have?
They don't have,
Bugger all,
no.
Wuey. Bugger all is the answer. And I don't see how there's any deal where Essendon gets better by trading Zach Merritt. Let's be honest here. Even if he comes back, it's going to be awkward. There's no doubt about that. But anytime you got Zach Merritt in there, you're a better team.
They can get past that awkwardness. Yeah. Have a bit of light at the start of the season, maybe chuck a Hawthorn jumper in his locker, and then everyone has a laugh about it and they get to work. But he probably won't be captain.
Bring back Jake Stringer to come up with a prank or something.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's all we got time for today. Mark will be back on this podcast on Monday, refreshed and hopefully with his kid representing Australia in the basketball, alongside Michael Gleeson. The listeners will hear from you then, Mark. If you've got questions or suggestions for our podcast during trade week, you can email us realfootypod@theage.com.au. Don't forget to subscribe, rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. Enjoy your weekend and we'll be back for the last 3 days next week.